Welcome back to the Thrifty Suburbanite channel. Today we're going to be working on the log splitter again. If you follow the videos, you'll remember that I made a guard over the engine, had to cut it down so it's more acceptable size wise, and I did a similar thing on this side here. There's also a guard over the hydraulic pump and hydraulic filter. Works great. It's all sturdy, no issues with it. My problem now is I've made it impossible to reach the throttle and the shutoff on the engine because of this guard. Normally you could just lean right over here and manipulate whatever it is you want to use, but now you can't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a remote throttle and a remote shutoff that comes out over on this side somewhere, so I can do all what I want to do here without having to go around over the tongue, because the tractor's usually hooked up to it there, or trying to squeeze between here and a log rack or whatever's over here, because it's usually tight in something. Let's look and see what we can find for materials to get some idea how we're going to make this, and let's roll. First thing I realize is I know I'm going to need the controls over here on the main beam, the black part of the trailer. This goes up and down so you can split the big rounds. Anything that you put on here is going to get stretched out. It's not going to work because it's going to catch. So it has to be on the trailer tongue, if you want to call it that. It's the main frame, I guess, of the trailer itself. And it has to be probably, yeah, on the bottom. It can't be in between the two parts here because there's not enough room. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it vertical, and we're going to see kind of right in here somewhere is where I want the controls underneath. We'll see what I'm going to do and where they're going to go. One thing you have to be careful of here is to get this hose around the one side where I added that guard. I have to twist the fitting to make the hose line up a little bit better. Okay, so what I did was I took a piece of tape and I marked for reference kind of where I think the control should be. And that's going to give me a clear space. It's within the zone here. I have some parts, a short cable, the old throttle cable from the Sears Suburban tractor. I'll probably use on this. And I don't know, let's try to formulate some ideas. See what we have, what kind of stuff we have to work with. Alright, I looked through the stash and I found some stuff that we could use. As I thought, I still have this old choke cable from the Sears Suburban. Old quality workmanship there. That thing is robust. Have a couple of nuts that go on to lock the barrel into the bracket that we're going to make. Okay, just have to configure the engine for that. The way it is now, there's a place to mount this, but what they do is they tighten the throttle assembly down so much you can hardly even move it with your finger, let alone moving it with this. So we're going to have to look at that. And for the shutoff, we have the shutoff here. It grounds momentarily or makes a circuit momentarily. Normally it's open, so that way we don't interfere with our spark when we don't want to shut it off, but when it's time to shut it off, boom, ground it. I have to figure out where I have to wire that back onto the engine. I know there's a little red shut-off switch there now. Shouldn't be a big problem. Of course, the appropriate green ground wire. Shrink tubing, thermal lens. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this bracket up underneath the frame, which is a square frame. It's a little bit wider than this. I think the frame itself is 2.5 or so, and this is 4. So what I can do is I can cock this over to the side to give me a little bit of angle on our control panel. This is our control panel. It's nothing but a piece of angle iron, steel angle iron, that I've taken and drilled holes in so I can slide it up on there. It has holes for the on-off switch and has a hole for the throttle cable. This will mount up underneath the frame of the tractor itself, probably from the top to the bottom. Some of the plastic tubing I've been saving forever, 3/8 of an inch. but I don't know why I save it. What I'll do is I'll just run it down on the sides of this U-bolt so it doesn't tear up the frame when I tighten it and when it vibrates. Try to get a piece up underneath too. Don't know if I will or not. I'll have to heat it and push it around that bend if I choose to do that. Success. The sides are no problem. Sides go right in. There we go. Insulated all the way around. Alright. I believe there's a hose back here. Yeah, it's off. There we go. So that's what we need. This is what we're going to use right here. Our cable's going into this and hitting one of these holes. And now I'm quite sure that the control cable is going to be a lot more troublesome to hook up than the actual wires to the shutoff, so I'll start with that first. Try to get this mocked up underneath here and see where it is I want it exactly. This all can be subject to change. I have enough leeway here, I think, to wiggle it around a little bit. We'll see what it looks like when it's all kind of set up. This has got to come off. This is a stop for the cable. Get a little breezy out today. Cable's got to come over. It's got to go down on the control itself. Finally gotten the throttle cable in a position here where it's going to work halfway decent. I'm not thrilled about how close it is to the muffler, but not too much I could do about that. Okay, get this cover on. Let's see if we have remote throttle control. Moment of truth. Ooh. We do. That's what I wanted right there. Fine. Okay, so it's time to put the connectors on the end of the wire. I know I have a Christmas scheme going on with my wiring here. That's all right. Here's pretty much the finished product on the switch. I have my two wires. I have a wiring loom. I have connectors on the end. This is going to be mounted up in the little piece of angle iron I made, and for a while this is going to run down the center. This loom is going to run down the center of the frame. For that I have a loom clamp and a self-tapping sheet metal screw. It's only going to run that way for a little bit, and then it's going to branch off. It's going to go underneath the guard. I'm going to do some other stuff before it gets over to where the engine is. I love this old tractor. Give you some perspective on the age of this old beast. I'm 10 years older than it is. I was 10 when this tractor was made. So, works pretty well. Use it all the time. It's my most used tractor out of them all. Did all that work on the log splitter. Got the switch and the remote cable hooked up for the throttle. Might as well give it a try now. Not so worried about the throttle. I know that works. The ignition's the problem. Did I wire it right? Did I get something crossed up? Give it a try and find out. Okay, here's the first test. Is it going to work? I certainly hope so. This thing usually starts first pull in the wintertime with the choke on, and the summertime sometimes without the choke. So I'm going to give it a shot here and see what happens. We want rabbit. I'm going to have to always use this side of the splitter to start and control the choke and fuel and whatnot. That's a given. I mean, I'm going to come here once per splitting session for this. The rest of the time I'm going to be on the other side of this. First pull. I love it. I love it. I'm not going to pull with the throttle till I get over here. Let's see how the remote works. That's full speed. That's all she goes. Now, the moment of truth. Do I have the cutoff wired right? There we go. Push the switch till the ignition shuts off and the engine dies. Let go of the switch and it's ready to go again. You don't have to worry about fumbling around with the on-off switch like on the front of the engine here. I don't know how many times I had that thing turned off when I was trying to start this. So here, we got it turned on. Switch. There we go. And that switch down there still works too. It didn't do anything to this. I just tapped into this wire. So you turn this off, you're not going to get ignition. Just leave it on and push the button and stop it. Great, that's what I wanted. Just what I wanted. I think I'm about done with the modifications on this log splitter for now. It does what I want it to do. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to have it forever. And it's a lot more usable for me now. A lot less worry about things going over the side, hitting the engine or the pump. And I can control it from this side. Plus I have my little log catcher, or whatever you want to call it, here. Good splitter. The only thing that I'm still not happy about is the play in that ram and the holes at the end to get clogged up. Can't do anything about that. It's inherent in the design. When it wears out, I'll just have to weld some rails on here. Not a big deal. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.